Hello and welcome. My name is Jamie Lee and I'm so happy to have you here. Please feel free to subscribe. In today's video, we're just gonna have an open and honest conversation about alcohol. Before we begin, I have a few disclaimers. The first is that I know this topic can be controversial and triggering and possibly highly offensive to some people. I am not trying to preach here and tell people how to live their lives, okay? I'm just going to be sharing my personal experience with alcohol and possibly information from articles that I've read or other videos that I've watched on the topic. Second, I am not a medical or mental health professional by any means. I have no expertise on alcohol use or addiction. So if you're really struggling with alcohol use, first of all, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to be your greatest help. This video is for anyone who is curious or has questioned their relationship with alcohol at some point or another. It's a safe space for anyone who might feel ashamed or embarrassed to talk to anyone about their alcohol struggles. Okay, let's begin. So I was first introduced to alcohol in grade 11, so I was 17 years old, which is insane to me now that I know that our brains aren't even fully developed until we're 25. But the first sign that I might have an issue with alcohol happened on my 18th birthday. So I had a party at my house, all of my friends and family were there, and sorry if you can hear snoring in the background. It's my dog Benji. She's this little black blob over there. So I had this party and my sister made a punch. Okay, punches are so dangerous. It's so dangerous. And I had 1 cup, which turned into 2 cups, which turned into more. And I was drunk and merry, but I was in the safety of my own home, surrounded by people that I loved. And I was having the best time ever, and then suddenly everything went black. And the next thing I remember is feeling somebody smack me so hard through my face. It was really hard. It was really hard. And then the next thing I remember is somebody carrying me and tucking me into bed. And those are the only memories I have from my 18th birthday. So it turned out that I got way too drunk, I blacked out, knocked my head on the ground, my sister smacked me because I was borderline paralytic, and my daddy carried me away from the party all the way upstairs and tucked me into bed. I didn't even say goodbye to anybody. I don't know what happened to all of my friends and family that was still there. And from what I was told, it was still early in the night. It was only probably like 10 o'clock. So when I woke up the next day, I had a headache from hell. I physically felt like I was going to die. And I was anxious because I couldn't remember anything that happened the night before. Never mind the stories that I got told at school the next day or like the next week, which everyone thought was funny at the time. Now, I don't have enough time to tell you all of the variations of that story that played out in so many different ways over the next few years. I'm probably gonna write a book about my life. Watch this space. The point is, I wasn't always in the safety of my own home. And I definitely wasn't always surrounded by people who had my best interest at heart. There was a time when I truly believed that alcohol affects everyone in the same way. I was like, so surely if I'm drinking the same amount as everyone else, then we must be experiencing the same level of intoxication, right? As it turns out, the more social situations where I was binge drinking, trying to keep up with everyone else, the more I became the entertainment. And the more I realized this, the more insecure and self-conscious I got anticipating my drunk behavior. And the more socially anxious I got, the more I drank to numb the anxiety. It was such an uncontrollable, scary cycle. And the worst part about it all, and this is the part where I truly send all of my love to younger Jamie, was that deep down, I knew that I was dealing with an issue that my peers weren't dealing with. But at the time, I wasn't ready to be the lightweight outcast. I wasn't going to miss out on the fun of my youth. And I definitely wasn't ready to face my inner demons. So, you know what? I honestly just told myself that I was young and I was allowed to be wild and silly, and that the older and wiser I got, the better I'd be able to handle my liquor. I didn't drink every day or even every weekend, but when I did drink, that vicious cycle would kick in, and over the years, it probably got a bit worse. Year in, year out, birthdays, house parties, bar and club nights out, festivals. There wasn't an event that I can remember that I was sober. When I was drinking, not only was I the entertainment, but I would just make really poor decisions. Like getting left home with random people, or sleeping anywhere when I planned to go home, or, oh my gosh, becoming opera and buying drinks for everyone and anyone and going home with no money. Ugh. Or going from place to place like a shiny object and shutting the place down, like staying until the lights come on and then Googling what places are open, go to the next place, what place is open. And another thing, I'm quite social and outgoing without alcohol. But when I do drink alcohol, then I become the most charismatic person on planet Earth. I'm making friends, plans, and promises with people I just met that night. And then the next day, I'm getting random messages from people I don't know, or somebody would, this is the worst part, when somebody would just like say a friendly, "Hello, so nice to see you again," like out in public, and I wouldn't have a single idea who they are. And for me, that was the worst part, because on a normal day, I'm so amazing at remembering names and faces. Like, I'm the person that can see somebody in a crowd of people and be like, "Oh my gosh, I met this girl at high school orientation 10 years ago when she sat next to me in the auditorium, and I just saw her that one time, and then I saw her again at this festival," and I'd be like, connection in my brain. And I really hate it. Like, one of my pet peeves is when I've met someone, spent time with them, had full-blown conversations with them before, and then they act like they don't know me. So doing that to other people just felt so terrible. I felt so bad about myself. Then don't even get me started on how broken I'm feeling when I wake up the next day. Or truly for me, it was like even the next 3 or 4 days. I'm not even talking about just the headaches and the fatigue and the dehydration. I'm talking about emotionally and mentally as well. It's so psychologically destructive to wake up the next day feeling anxious, guilty, and ashamed because you can't remember what you said or what you did, and you have to message all of your friends asking them to fill in those blanks and apologize for your behavior. Over time, it really chipped away at my self-esteem, my confidence, and my self-respect, man. Honestly, I can admit that there was a time where I had no pride in myself and I had no trust in my judgment. I couldn't trust myself. Over the years, the problem just became more blatant and impossible to ignore, and I became drained and exhausted of dealing with myself. I was forced to finally make a change. So, like I mentioned, I wasn't drinking every day and I wasn't drinking every weekend. And thankfully, I wasn't at the point where I was alcohol dependent, which I know and understand is a huge struggle for a lot of people. I could even go weeks or months without drinking. So some people would say that my alcohol experience is normal drinking for someone in their early 20s just figuring out their life. But drinking culture and binge drinking is so heavily ingrained in society and in my own life that normal drinking for someone like me is problem drinking. Drinking culture is so glamorized and interwoven in our lives. It's a glass of wine or cold beer at the end of the day. It's after work drinks. It's beer and every sports game ever. It's mimosas at brunch. It's a champagne toast for every special occasion ever. It's pretty packaging and clever and vibrant advertising. You're almost made to feel like you're missing out on this extra fun and special part of life if you don't participate. And fair enough, they do tell you to drink responsibly, but what they don't tell you is how. So consumers of alcohol all land up on the spectrum. Some on the mild side, having 1 to 2 drinks every once in a while and calling it good. Some on the moderate side, drinking 1 or 2 drinks every single night or binge drinking on the weekend. And others unfortunately land on the severe side, having 5 or 6 drinks every night, being fully dependent and thinking about alcohol at every waking moment of the day. Do you guys remember when alcohol was prohibited? Like all drugs, it used to be illegal. Now you can just get it with your eggs and bread at the grocery store. It's so funny when I think back to the alcohol ban that happened during lockdown. When all South Africans are like, you can't stop us from getting drunk, we're gonna make our own beer at home. I just remember my daddy and my neighbor sharing their pineapple beer recipes and comparing it over the wall. Supply and demand. So you might be wondering, am I going to be quitting alcohol? Well, I am of the belief that with self-discipline and self-control, everything can be enjoyed in moderation. Hi, it's Editing Jamie here. I just wanted to elaborate on the previous statement because I realized that it doesn't work for everyone and it definitely doesn't apply to everything. When I said that everything can be enjoyed in moderation, I was specifically referring to a method that works for me personally, with the context of alcohol consumption at the top of my mind. But after filming, I realized a few things. One is that moderation can look different for everyone. For some people, that might mean drinking on the weekend as opposed to every day. And for others, it's probably drinking a few times a year on special occasions. Number 2 is that some people just have an all or nothing addictive personality. So even if you try to do something in moderation, it turns into overindulgence at some point anyway. And that can be with anything: exercising, online shopping, even spending time on social media. And number 3 is that there are some things that are just inherently bad or inappropriate and shouldn't be tried at all, not even in moderation. Off the top of my head, let's say heroin, fraud, murder. I'm being lighthearted here, but I hope you get my point. Okay, back to the video. And just like Martin Luther King, I have a dream. Well, I have many dreams. But one of them is to own a vineyard and make or produce wine someday. So as you can imagine, if I don't work on my relationship with alcohol now, then that dream could turn into an alcoholic nightmare. So my current plan is to drastically take control of my relationship with alcohol and implement something called mindful drinking. Mindful consumption of any kind is a mindset and a lifestyle change. By the time I'm making this video, I've already increased my awareness by evaluating the effects of alcohol on my life. So I can't just ignorantly drink alcohol for the sake of it. My brain won't let me. I have to pause and ask myself, why do I want this drink? And The only reason I'm allowing for now is if it actually tastes good. So if I ask myself why I want this drink and it's for any other reason other than I like the taste, then it's a hard no on the drink. And I have to push through and deal with whatever obstacle comes up. But if the answer is that I like the taste, then I might still have a drink from time to time. For me personally, liking the taste of a drink means that realistically I'll only be having 1 or 2 drinks max, because by the third drink my taste buds are fast asleep and then I'll just be drinking for the sake of drinking, which will feed into my ignorance, which I'm not allowing and is not acceptable anymore. I've actually also been dabbling in the world of non-alcoholic beverages, and so far I've tried Heineken Zero, which tastes so close to the original Heineken beer, and I've also had Devil's Peak Hero, which has all the elements of a delicious alcoholic craft beer without the alcohol. I love it. I'm so excited to try some more. So for now, I'm not cutting out alcohol completely, and I'm not telling you how to live your life. But if you've ever asked yourself, am I drinking too much or do I have a drinking problem? Chances are you probably are or do, even if it's a small problem. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking yourself that question. By making this video, I'm holding myself accountable to the truth that alcohol isn't one size fits all, and it doesn't always fit me. So I'm making this conscious, individual, and empowering decision to take control of my life. You might be dealing with issues other than alcohol, maybe smoking or other substance use, or even unhealthy eating habits. I hope you find the courage to listen to what your heart is telling you. I'm trying to create a safe space here where everyone feels seen and loved, and I hope to achieve that by openly sharing my personal experiences without the fear of being judged or ashamed of past versions of myself. In fact, I'm doing this for younger Jamie, who needed a place like this at the time. I learned the greatest lessons and become more knowledgeable through all my struggles and mistakes. Growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. So as long as you're taking one step forward at a time, eventually you'll get there. My name is Jamie Lee Benjamin. Thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me. And as always, I'm sending you all of my love and my light.